Hello everyone, this is Ibrahim Aljada again. Please follow the exact order of lessons in this course for ultimate benefit, starting with the introduction, then lesson 1, and so on. Lesson 1, the ba letter, harful ba, should not be skipped as it is the main building block in this course. The following lesson is designed with the assumption the order of lessons in this course as encouraged here is followed as much as possible, and so, for practical reasons, less time will be spent explaining major concepts by the instructor. Thank you. This is how the tha looks like when it is on its own, as appears on the first line. We'll do some practice later. On the second line, this is one way how to spell and pronounce the letter as tha in English. You could try some other format for your convenience. On the third line, you have the full name of the tha letter. Tha. Don't worry about being able to read the full name now, but I highly recommend that you memorize the full name. It's better for you, but if you want to remember it as the letter tha, it's fine too. Next session. And this is how the letter tha is produced in the mouth. The tip of the tongue touches the gum of the upper front teeth to produce the tha letter. Tha, tha. And you will obviously need to blow air through the oral cavity to allow the production of the letter. Tha. Luckily, the letter is shared between Arabic and English. It shouldn't be hard for you to produce the letter. Next session. So how is the letter tha written? When it is on its own, at the beginning of a word, in the middle of a word, and at the end of a word on its own or attached to a letter before. Let's practice. This is how to write the letter tha when it is on its own. Let me try that again. It's very much like the ba and ta letter from prior lessons. When it comes to the right arm, the body, the left arm, the main body is on the horizontal line. Let's try again. Right arm, body on the horizontal line, left arm, and 3 dots on top. The ta letter had 2 dots on top. The ba letter had 1 dot underneath. The tha letter has 3 dots on top. So how should it look like when it is in the beginning of a word? Right arm, body, no left arm. How does it look like when it is in the middle of a word attached to a letter before and the letter after? This is the extension of the letter before, right arm of the letter tha, and then the body of the letter tha on the horizontal line, then 3 dots. How about when it is at the end of a word on its own? It looks like how I've shown you before. This is when the tha letter is on its own at the end of a word. How about if it is attached to a letter prior when it is at the end of a word? You just add the extension of the letter before. All right, this is how it should look like at the end of a word attached to a letter before. Pause the video, practice on your own. I want you to try and write the tha letter when it is on its own, when it is at the beginning of a word, and when it is in the middle of a word attached to a letter prior and after, and at the end of a word when it is attached to a letter prior. All right? Next session. In the tha letter lesson, we're going to follow the same format we had followed in the ba and ta letter. we'll be covering now the fatha, dhamma, and kasra, which were extensively explained in the ba letter and to a reasonable degree in the ta letter. Please go back to these lessons to feel comfortable. So on the first line, there is a fatha. How should the tha be pronounced? Tha. When it has a dhamma, as is on the second line, it is pronounced as thu. When it has a kasra, as apparent on the third line, it is pronounced as thi. Let's practice. Try to figure out on your own by pausing the video how the tha letter, when it is on its own, should look like with a dhamma attached on top of it, and how should the pronunciation be like. Tha on its own with a dhamma on top. This is pronounced as thu. Test yourself. How should it look like with a dhamma on top when it is at the beginning of a word? Thu. How about the middle of a word attached to a letter prior and a letter after? Thu. How about if it was at the end of a word attached to a letter prior? You just extend the body of the tha. Let's make it look nicer. This is the extension from the previous letter, right arm of the tha, tha at the end of a word with a dhamma, thu. How about the fatha? Pause the video and test yourself. This is tha at the end of a word attached to a letter prior with a fatha, tha. How about if it was in the middle of the word attached to a letter prior and a letter after? Tha, tha. How about if it was at the beginning of a word? Tha. How about the kasra? Pause the video and try it on your own. This is a tha at the beginning with a kasra. I want you to try and figure out how it should look like if it is in the middle of a word attached to a letter prior and a letter after with a kasra. How should the pronunciation be like? Thi. What if it was at the end of a word? Test yourself. This is tha in the middle with a kasra, thi. And this is tha at the end with a kasra. And the tha is attached to a letter prior at the end of a word, thi. Test yourself. Next session. How about the long vowels, which were extensively explained in the ba lesson and reasonably explained in the ta lesson? I hope you still remember them. So the alif long vowel, on the first line, so it becomes tha. The waw letter on the second line, oo, so tha becomes thu. The ya letter on the third line, e, so the tha letter becomes thi. And I'm showing here two formats when the tha letter is attached to a ya letter at the end of a word, and when the ya letter or the e is attached to the tha letter before and a tha letter after. Let's practice. Okay, I want you to test yourself and try and figure out how the tha would look like when it is attached to the oo, wow, long vowel, and when it is attached to the alif, long vowel, and when it is attached to the e, yeah, long vowel, and how would the pronunciation be like? How would you read this? Thu. The tha has a dhamma on top, and it is attached to the wow letter, oo. So with the long vowel, oo, it becomes thu. How about this one? It's attached to the alif long vowel, It is tha. Should be reasonably easy by now. And the third short vowel would be thi, the ya long vowel, thi. Let's try that again. Thi. Good job. How about if the long vowel e here is attached to a tha before and a tha after? Try to figure out how the pronunciation should be and how the letters should be written. Thief, thief. And you can simplify the way the letters are written in simpler geometrical shapes as explained in previous lessons. And you can draw the word as this. Thief, thief. Next session. In this session, we'll cover the tanweens, tanween fatha or two fathas, tanween dhamma, two dhammas, and tanween kasra, two kasras. Test yourself. How do you think the pronunciation will be like, and how the letters should be written when they are attached to a tanween? Remember, the tanween fatha forces the addition of the long vowel a or alif, but it is a silent a or alif. Like here on the first line, than. On the second line, you have tanween dhamma, two dhammas, thun. On the third line, you have tanween kasra or two kasras, thin. Pause the video, be creative, be imaginative, create your own scenarios, try to enjoy the course. Let's practice. And remember, tanween can only take place at the end of a word. How do you pronounce this? It's a tha. You add the long vowel a or alif, which is silent here because there is a tanween fatha, and it is attached to a letter before. This is than, than. How about this one? The tha letter is at the end, attached to two dhammas at the end of a word with an attached letter prior. How do you pronounce this? Thun, thun. Remember the two other formats of the tanween dhamma? Thun, thun. The third format, thun, thun. How about the tanween kasra? thin, thin. This is when it is at the end of a word attached to a letter prior. What if it was on its own at the end of a word? Thin, thin. Next session. This session will be the sukoon or the stop sign. How would you pronounce the tha letter? Ith, ith. And remember, you have two formats for the sukoon as apparent here. Let's practice. Ith, ith. Ith, ith. And of course you can try it in the middle of a word. Ith, ith. How about the end of a word? With a letter attached prior. Ith, ith. Excellent. Next session. This session will cover the shadda, shadda with fatha, shadda with dhamma, and shadda with kasra, as apparent on the three lines. Remember, shadda emphasizes the letter, and then the short vowel fatha, dhamma, or kasra creates the final pronunciation together with the shadda. So the first line is tha, the second line is thu, the third line is thi, shadda with kasra. Let's practice. Ithi. I want you now to try shadda with dhamma. Ithu. Both at the beginning of a word, in the middle of a word, at the end of a word. Pause the video. Test yourself. Ithu. At the end of a word, when the tha is on its own. Here, when it is attached to a letter prior at the end of a word. Uthu at the beginning of a word. How about the middle of a word attached to a letter prior and a letter after? Ithu. How about shadda with fatha? Itha at the beginning of a word, in the middle of a word attached to a letter prior, and at the end of a word attached to a letter before it. Itha. Next session. This session will cover the shadda with tanween fatha or two fathas, shadda with two dhammas or tanween dhamma, and shadda with two kasras or tanween kasra. On the first line, how would the pronunciation will be? Remember, because you have tanween here, it can only take place at the end of a word. And because you have a tanween fatha on the first line, you have to add the silent long vowel a letter here at the end. So the first line is pronounced as ithan. On the second line, you have a shadda with tanween dhamma or two dhammas, ithun. How about the third line? Shadda with two kasras, ithin. Pause the video, practice, pronounce, test yourself, create your own scenarios, try to add letters from previous lessons, create your own words, try to have fun. Let's practice. Ithan. الثن 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 again الثن 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 الثن. Fantastic. Next session. It is fun time now, practice and quiz time. Let's see how much you learned in this lesson. We're combining letters from previous lessons here. You have the ba, ta and tha, and we have short vowels, fatha, kasra and dhamma. Try to pronounce the first word. Ba to thi. How about the second word? Thi, ba, ti. How about the third word? Bi, thi, bu. Again, the third word, bi, thi, bu. Next quiz. How about these words? The first word has a fatha, short vowel on each of the letters. Test yourself. Tha, ba, ta. Tha, ba, ta. We have the three letters, the ba, ta, tha, which we've covered in our recent lessons. This word does exist in Arabic. It means he remained steadfast. Again, he remained steadfast. Thabata. Thabata. What about the second word? You have a fatha short vowel on the first letter and then a shadda with fatha on the second letter. Try to pronounce this word. It does exist in Arabic. It is batha. Batha, and it means broadcasted. What about this word? It does exist in Arabic. You have a fatha. The waw letter here is a genuine waw letter. It is pronounced on its own. It doesn't work as a long vowel here. It has a sukoon on top. And then you have a long vowel at the end, E. Try to pronounce this word. Thawbi. 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 It means my dress. My dress. Thawbi. And remember, this is the second format of how a sukoon may be written. It's the same word as before, but it has a different shape of the sukoon. Thawbi. Thawbi. My dress. Next practice. What about these words? The first one, it has a fatha, short vowel, tanween, dhamma at the end. Thabun. 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 What about this word? You have a waw or oo long vowel in the middle. Thuba. Thuba. These two words don't exist in Arabic. I fake them so that we can practice more and create our own words because we have limited number of alphabets to use right now. So this word is pronounced as thuba, thuba. What about this third word? Try. You have a tanween dhamma at the end with one of the three formats of tanween dhamma or two dhammas. Pause the video. Challenge yourself. Tabithun. 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 Excellent. Next practice. How about these three words? Again, unreal Arabic words. First word, batha, batha. The second word, with a short vowel fatha and a shadda with two dhammas at the end, thabun, thabun. What about the third word? Buthin, buthin. Excellent. How about this word? It has the three letters we've gone over in this course: the ba, the tha, and the ta. How do you pronounce this word? You have a dhamma, a kasra, a fatha, long vowel, long vowel, long vowel, shadda with tanween kasra or two kasras. How do you pronounce this fake word? Buthibatin. Let's try again. Buthibatin. Again. Buthibatin. Excellent. How about this word? Divide this into smaller tasks. Figure out the main letters, the short vowels, the long vowels, the shadda, the tanween. Let's try. Buthibabatin. Let's try again. Buthibabatin. Last time. Buthibabatin. Excellent. How about this word? Test yourself. Divide it into smaller jobs. Biyabatuthon. This one is challenging. We have an E or Ya long vowel, so it's a B, B. But this one is not a long vowel. Here, the Ya is an actual letter on its own. Ya, and it has a long vowel afterwards. So let's try. Biyabatuthon. Again. Biyabatuthon. Excellent. Pause the video. Challenge yourself on your own. These two words do exist in Arabic. The first word means a door. Try to pronounce it. Babun. Babun. The second word means my dress. Thawbun. Thawbun. And the waw here is not a long vowel. It's a genuine letter that's pronounced with a sukoon. Thawbun. Thawbun. So let's try now fake words in Arabic using simpler geometrical shapes. Using previous letters we've covered. The ba, ta, tha, we have the long vowels, the shadda, the sukoon, the short vowels. Be creative. So let's use simpler geometrical shapes. It may help you learn faster. How do you pronounce this word? It's a real Arabic word. Babun, babun. Babun, babun. Babun, babun. How do you pronounce this word? ثبت. He remains steadfast. ثبت. 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 ثوب. ثوب. The sukun here could be written as just a regular circle. It looks nicer than a square. ثوب. ثوب. This is a real Arabic word. Do you remember what it means? It means my dress. My dress. ثوب. How about this one? Try to figure out how it is pronounced. It is a fake Arabic word. بتثاب. بتثاب. ثبوت. ثبوت. This is a real Arabic word meaning steadfastness. ثبوت. ثبوت. We come now to the end of the lesson. I hope you found it useful. See you in the next lesson. Bye for now.